Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining Cultivating Equitable Grant-Making Processes, a discussion on the considerations that went into our accessible, innovative, and equity-focused grant-making process. I'm Lisa Hicks, and I will be moderating this discussion. So over the past 2 weeks, Collective has been holding a membership drive with the intention to grow our network and our impact. If you're unfamiliar with our work, we provide grant funding and capacity building opportunities to Black and Brown communities in the DC, Virginia, and Maryland area. So if you want to learn more, you can check out our website at www.collective365.org. If you are a member of the Collective, we have some amazing raffle prizes for current members who recruit new members by January 22nd. The more members you recruit, the better chances you have at winning. Some of our prizes are a gift card, 1 free program evaluation consulting session, or a Mary Kay gift basket. So we have some diverse prizes there. And I really want to take this moment to thank the membership committee who put all this together. Their work is really appreciated. And before we get into the panel, I want to encourage anyone that is in this session with us to drop some questions in throughout the discussion. You can just drop those in the chat, and there will be a Q&A session at the end of the panel. So let's get into it. This evening we're joined by Ashley Gaddy, founder of Ashley Gaddy Enterprises, and Kheila Jones, executive director of the Atlantic Outreach Group. Thank you guys for joining me. Okay. So as I mentioned before, the past 2 weeks, the Collective has been holding a membership drive. So I would love to hear from you two on why you joined the Collective, and what do you think the benefits are of being a part of this organization? Ashley, let's start with you.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So happy to see familiar faces supporting the event, who are also my friends. So this makes me feel really good. So I joined the Collective because I am about my community. I think that I do not have a nonprofit background. And so I am the daughter of an executive director, though. And so I know nonprofit from licking envelopes and putting stamps on things and selling t-shirts and attending events and volunteering time because I'm the child of the ED. So I really wanted to be able to not only support my own communities and my own people, I also wanted to learn a little more about what happens in the nonprofit world that my daddy may be more familiar with, but I want to kind of learn for myself. And then the third reason is because the people who are in it. I know, multiple founders. They are my colleagues. They are my friends. They are my support system. And so why not give back and support the things that they're doing by joining as well?
Thank you for that, Ashley. What about you, Kheila? I think you're on mute.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Look, rookie mistake. Okay, so I am on the nonprofit side, and what really intrigued me is that I've seen groups like this, but not focused on BIPOC. So that was the first thing, being a woman of color running a nonprofit. I really wanted to get behind something like that, and it's super innovative. Having been on the back end of the grant process, I really liked how everyone came together with this initiative of equity and just making sure that we support missions that may otherwise go unnoticed. So that was the big thing that drew me in, just being able to focus on the community that my organization actually serves.
Thank you for that, Kheila. And I'd love to just follow up on that. You talked about your perspective from being executive director of the Atlantic Outreach Group. So I want to know, what was your relationship like with Philanthropy before you joined the collective, and like how has the collective changed that perspective now?
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do a whole thing on mute? I did a whole thing. Okay. So Kheila, you talked a little bit about you as an executive director of the Atlantic Outreach Group. So I'd love to hear more about what was your relationship with philanthropy before this, and you know, how has the collective changed your perspective of philanthropy?
So I think my relationship with philanthropy felt very one-sided, as the power dynamic of, okay, us needing the funding and then the philanthropists being the gatekeepers determining, okay, is your program valuable enough? Okay, let me meter what your progress is or what I feel that your progress is. And I think with collective being on the back end, it was just refreshing knowing that, okay, someone could have a new idea, right? They may not have a business plan, but they may be really connected to the community and the community's needs. And we were able to take that into consideration and not having a restricted fund of, no, you can't use that for staff salary. You have to use it for this particular part of the program. So I think just being on that other side, it was refreshing, understanding what that feels like, and then getting out of the traditional mind state of what grant funding looks like and what an organization has to.
Yeah, I think talking about the power dynamics of philanthropy is really important, and that's like how we're going to move forward within philanthropy. Ashley, you.
Lisa, before we move to the next question, can I say something about that?
Yes,
as someone who's not in the field, what I think is very interesting is that this word philanthropy is perceived to be the most equitable space, the most serving space, the most giving space. So to hear these corporate-like structures and terms and power dynamics be aligned with the word that people coincide with giving is so ironic to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what collective is here to do, is make people aware that you might throw your name in a lot of hats. And because there's a whole backdrop to philanthropy that y'all don't even know about, we're here to serve you in the most equitable way. We're here to serve you in the way that is tied to this word philanthropy. And so I think it's very interesting hearing y'all say stuff that I would hear in a corporation.
Yeah.
For this word that's supposed to be so given. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like they're expecting a return on interest. It's like a ROI, regardless of what's going on. I expect this specific outcome, knowing that a change might not happen in a 1 or 2 or 3 year grant cycle. That's not a person-centered approach. So I definitely agree.
Well, since we're talking about this word philanthropy, let's talk more about like a broader sense of it. Like we talk about it a lot in the terms of giving your money, but let's talk about how it applies to people giving their time and their resources. And how have you each invested, you know, non-monetary resources into the collective?
So I think, like you said, it's super important to understand that philanthropy isn't just always monetary. I think it's a matter of offering resources. I know that the grant pool that we had last year, some of those were offered supports outside that may not have been offered the funding. So I do think that it's okay, your time, your resources, even your connections, it's all in who you know, and, you know, playing this dot connector with people that may not be in the same circles as you to be able to open them up to additional opportunities.
Yeah, for me, time is real. And so this grant committee cycle and grant committee equated to time. And my hope, and quite honestly, what we know from feedback that we've received, is that the recipients of said grants could feel the time that we took in this process based off of how we responded to them, how we awarded them, We responded to them in ways that made them know that we read their full packet.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? We responded to them in ways that said, we may not be able to give you your full amount because we doubled the amount of rewards we sent this year rather than giving someone a lump sum. So time is what I have given, and a lens of, by doing kind of diversity, inclusion, and equity work, also bringing a lens and a voice to help hold the committee accountable to our mission.
Yeah, I've definitely witnessed, Ashley, I've witnessed you do that. And it's so interesting that as a researcher, I think that you have this amazing knack for asking the right questions. Like, you know exactly what to ask in order for us to make a decision on, all right, should we go this way or that way? So can you talk a little bit about the decision that we had to make within this process?
Yeah. First, before we could even look at any packets, we had to make sure that our team pairings and our team approach was equitable. So we came together in pairs to review packets. We had to be mindful of who was paired with whom, right? What identities were represented? Are you representing DC? Are you representing Maryland? Are you representing Virginia? You know what I'm saying? Because we want to be mindful of what lens and viewpoints we have. Some of these packets we knew, so we had to put in place, do you know them, right? We also had to put in place this, everybody wants to use rubric, but sometimes these standardized methods are exactly what perpetuate biases and inequities, right? So we had to make a decision about how are we going to review and score these packets based off of our mission. So while somebody might have a standard exceeds expectations, doesn't meet expectations, nah, we were like, what is the answer we want? What is the answer we want? So take away the kind of standardized wording fluff and just say, we want to know, who are you? Who you serving? Are they Black and brown? What the need is? And quite honestly, a decision we made was to ask if they're getting funding from some other place, because what we wanted to ensure is that we opened a door for folks who don't have access to other funding opportunities. So that was you know, y'all can keep me honest, in the philanthropy world, you may get more money when people see that you've been getting money, right? But we were like, we are looking to also give folks money who would never have access to money in the first place. We could be somebody's very first grant. So those are some of the decisions and conversations we had to have internally before we even review packets. And then when we review packets, and we had to go a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
It was not done in one meeting, and it was multiple meetings. But like I say in my work, is it worth it every time? Absolutely.
And Ashley, I do want to piggyback on what you were saying. Another part that I liked about that process is you didn't have a grant reviewer that just wasn't familiar with your industry. So we had to state what our areas were, what we were knowledgeable of, and then we were paired up. So it wasn't one person in mental health and another person in mental health. We each had different modalities to make sure that it was equal and fair. So that was really awesome too.
That's great. Great point.
Yeah, for sure. So I think our founder, Fatima M. Smith, she really encouraged us to ensure that equity was present and centered in all of the processes from beginning to end. So let's talk a little bit outside of the grant process, and maybe like talking about how we thought about it at the application, or like if we want to expand a little bit more on the capacity building that we offered outside of the application. Let's talk about, you know, very specific things, and what are some things that you think other, you know, philanthropic organizations can easily adapt?
Before we do that, Lisa, can we take like 30 seconds to give Fatima's flowers? Because if you think if you think what I'm saying by time on a grants committee is even close to the time that Fatima has dedicated to this organization, we're not in alignment, okay? The time that Fatima has put in to this organization by far surpasses anything I have personally given as a board member. So I just want to say, while we on the recording, thank you, Fatima, for your time, your dedication, and for believing that this could work, because we're in year 2, and I think a large part of that is to Fatima's work.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. But Kheila, I don't know if you had anything in the sorry.
No, I do agree. She was always on it. Early in the morning, emails, trying to get everybody together. So I completely respect it, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. I think that some easy ways, easy things that philanthropic organizations can do to be more equitable is mindfulness. I think one of the huge things is not assuming what you think a community or an organization needs, actually tapping into that community. At my nonprofit, we were even guilty of that. And then we had to pivot to be like, okay, we're in the communities. We're in the communities every week and still did that. So imagine someone that's 4 or 5 times removed. So just making sure that you take into consideration what the community's needs are, and then trying to figure out, like you said, if it's not monetary, what resources can you bring to the community? What connections can you bring? What thought leaders can you bring into the community? So I think that that's something to definitely be mindful of.
Yeah, and I will also say this is my first time serving on a board of an organization. So I am honored, if you will, that Collective 365 is my first board member experience, because I have now something to go by that if I apply or nominate or put my name in a hat for another organization, I'm gonna be like, something don't seem right over here, because over at Collective 365, okay, the way I was treated, the way that I participated as a board member was equitable. So what I mean, what are some of those things that I'm speaking to that might be easy ways for organizations to transition? And let me also say, this could be how it's actually done, and it just be like, actually, you just knew. Okay, so it could be like, boo, we already do that. Okay, this is just your first board membership. So, and I'm okay with that if that's the answer. But what we do when someone wants to be on the board, right? Not only, like I say, do we kind of have an equitable interviewing process, we're mindful of who's interviewing the person. They go through multiple conversations. But when we come together as a board to discuss that person, the things that we are discussing are not just their accolades and achievements, their years of experience, right? We are asking questions like, what are some examples to showcase that they are down for the people? And I'm talking Black, brown, or otherwise. You see what I'm saying? You just can't be in here off of accolades, and you just can't be in here because you're Black or brown.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to showcase to us that your work does the speaking, that not only that is that you have an understanding of how equity even works. Are you out here using non-inclusive language? Because we can't have that. You know what I'm saying? Are you over here understanding that there's systemic reasons why people are here in the first place? Because if you don't understand that, we can't have that. You know what I'm saying? If you over here saying stuff like, well, if they just worked a little harder, we can't have it. You know what I'm saying? So I love how we come together and have those very real conversations of the work, and also someone's understanding of the mission before we kind of vote someone in. And so I am happy to share that we have a plethora of even race and ethnic identities represented on our board, because we have verified that these people are down for the cause. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not quite sure that depth is as granular to be like, you know, let's ask some of these real questions, because if you're misgendering someone, that can be an issue. And it may not ever get to a grant application, but if you misgender someone, even in an internal meeting, that can cause harm.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so we're really getting the details to be like, are they down?
Yeah, I feel like I missed the opportunity to name this. We can't have it. We ain't having it. See, the next panel is got to be named that, because we spoke with dropping gems. I really appreciate, you talking about board governance, and I feel like my network has grown, not in a way, also in a way of quantity, but like in a way of quality too, where we're really connected to people who are really, really doing the work. And I would love to hear about how the network has affected the way that you either, view things that you've learned through the network, anything around how the network has added quality to your experience.
I honestly think most of the boards that I'm on, I am one of the few minorities. So when you're having those conversations, it was refreshing just to see a lot of people that look like me, that were down for the same cause as me, and that were really dedicated. Like when we said we were going to meet, everybody showed up, was ready to go, and just down for the mission, asking thoughtful questions, challenging questions, being able to bounce back and forth with that shared commonality of what the goal was. So I think some of the people I already knew, but then I got to know other people. And I think it's refreshing that even though I may not have spoken to someone in 6 months, they can reach out, shoot a quick text or email. Hey, Kheila, did you hear something about this program? Or do you know this person? Or da-da-da-da. So I think it's important for us to continue that cycle, even outside of the grant cycle, to be able to communicate, to be able to navigate and expand.
So not only, clearly I have added more people, like you said, quantity to my network. I now know of more people, but the quality that I gain. And so being in the field of diversity, equity, education, and also a person who identifies as an activist, there are times where it can feel very isolating. Like you think you're the only one, like putting in hours, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may feel like you're the only one who is down sometimes, but we would end meetings at 8 o'clock and there would be people on the phone saying, have to jump to another meeting. Like, I'm like, wait, there are other people who spend their evenings volunteering, educating, teaching, giving back, dedicating. I felt in community, and I gained community of people who are equally, if not more, because I was logging off at 8, okay, equally, if not more, dedicated to the collective work. And I think that I was in awe because they weren't just jumping, they were jumping onto another board meeting or another organization meeting. These people were giving their time after their full-time jobs, after school, after momming, after daddying, after all of these things. And they were still finding time to give. And so I felt less alone as an activist and a contributor to the work.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I think before joining the collective, I could really identify with that isolation part of it, where you just don't know what other people are doing, or people aren't, talking about it. And so having community, it feels like it feels lighter, right? The work feels lighter.
Can I say one more thing to that, Lisa, is that if you being a member in Collective 365 is also, you don't get access to just the grant cycle. We have meet and greets. We have times where we just check in and learn from each other and get to know each other. There is times where Fatima M. Smith is our, is one of our leaders. Fatima gonna have you doing some deep icebreaker that make you go like, what in the world? I just end up telling my whole life story to these people. So we get to connect. And I think that that's also part of the community. It's like, not only are we gaining community, being a member of Collect 365 gives you also an interpersonal community. And you know that, yes, you're not alone. There's other people serving until 8, 9 o'clock with you, but that you've also taken time outside of that meeting because to learn about each other outside of the org. And I think that's special.
Yeah. That reminds me of the icebreaker. I think Fatima asked us, if you were a fabric, what would you be? And that one really, right? I made up something, but that was the first time I ever heard that. Yeah, so let's circle a little bit back to what we were talking about as far as power dynamics and, you know, us as a community-centered organization. Maybe let's talk a little bit about like the harm of the power dynamics and like how we're doing our part to prevent that harm.
I think it's just archaic, right? Just the whole notion behind capitalism, behind people that aren't necessarily doing the work, but putting in these parameters of what it's supposed to look like, when it's supposed to happen. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to restrict this funding. And so you find your organization trying to morph into whatever the funding looks like. And then you completely lose your purpose. So I think it's one of those things even that we deal with now, that our mission is our mission, our focus is our focus, and not trying to be everything to everybody, be everything to every funder. And understanding that some of the funding is just coming from connections, people that we know, and just how it's kind of difficult sometimes to get in those groups. If you ever go and look at like funders and foundations pages, they'll show you past fundings that they've done. And sometimes it's the same people over and over and over. So it's just like, okay, how do you get into that? Or how do you make your way, which I think is just super important for what we're doing, to say, okay, we're not interested in what relationships you have with these other funders or what your proven background is, kind of giving you that opportunity. So yeah, I just think it's just an archaic way of looking at providing funding.
Yeah, I think that I don't have much to add based off of the fact that, I mean, philanthropies, organizations and fields are a microcosm of the systems that they are developed in, right? And so access causes harm. Systems of power cause harm. And so while we fully understand that we are an organization functioning within these same systems, we're going to do our part at the community level to ensure that you have access to resources. Because if we don't try to alleviate that, at the very least at the community level, Black and brown kids suffer. You see, that's generational stuff. You see what I'm saying? The applications that were coming in last grant cycle were attached to people's livelihood. Like, it wasn't just like donate a backpack. It was like, we need these children to learn in a pandemic, or they will fall behind in ways that are detrimental to survival. So we try to alleviate harm that systems of power produce, so that at the very least, the next generation has something to stand on.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, you know, like a water faucet, and you have the spigot, and it's like, okay, I'll give you a little drop of water here. I'll give you a little drop of water here. And you can't make, you know, any effective progress with it. So I think just that form of control completely hinders, you know, especially Black organizations, minority organizations that are trying to really impact the communities. So it's a complete contradiction of what philanthropy is.
Yeah. I saw a post on LinkedIn today that talked a little bit about what you guys are talking about, where it's saying, is the goal of fundraising, you know, really to raise funds, or is it more about community building? And I think that is really describes the work that we do here, community building through grants and capacity building. I want to give everyone who maybe is new to the who is learning about the collective to drop some questions in the chat. We're going to have a Q&A section in a little bit, but I want to give Ashley and Kheila just 2 minutes each to close up any remarks that you have, just close this discussion, or if you want to drop some gems, leave some little snippets with us.
Did you want to go for you want me to go? Okay, so I'll close out with this. I think that, like I said before, one of the main reasons that drew me through to Collective 365 was I've been on both sides of the coin. So if you want the opportunity to be impactful, to be innovative, or if you're on that side where you're like, okay, I'm looking for funding, this is the opportunity that will give you the area to go into non-traditional funding. It's not restricted. It's not, okay, you haven't been successful in this. So I think it's innovative in that respect, in regards to how you can give back your time outside of funding, right? Because it's not always about money. Your connections, your time is very valuable. So connecting with everyone. And when you do join, because I'm going to assume you're going to join, when you do join, just making sure that you stay connected with the people within the collective. It's an amazing opportunity, and I couldn't ask to be a part of a better group.
Oh, I love that. I also want to say out loud that this entire organization has ran within a pandemic. We didn't have Collective 365 before COVID. We have only functioned in COVID. We are functioning in a pandemic. And so, one, I think that says something about who we are, the people, but for the fact that our mission is so strong enough that we're getting backing in order to continue this organization, right? And if you believe, give, you know what I'm saying? Donate, whatever that means to you. But I will also say that means that the need in a pandemic is also very much there. It was there before, it's there in, and if there is a door out of this thing, the need is going to be there then. So membership or being associated with collective is not going to solve anything, solve big things in the immediate, but we are serving communities in the right now, and we'll continue to serve communities after this. So I ask people to really think about where they are, right? What are you holding in your personal life? What you holding at work? You know what I'm saying? Who are you for real, for real? Is the mission something that you're really tied to? Take time to assess all of those things, because when you join, we're going to want you to be ready. You see what I'm saying? Okay, we're going to want you to be ready. We're going to want you to serve. You see what I'm saying? And because the need will be there afterwards, if it's like maybe not this month, maybe next month, whenever, but come ready to serve. And that means in multiple ways. That don't mean we're going to have, that don't mean you got to be spending 20 hours a month or whatever the case may be. But it is to say there's a mission that we are tied to, and we must be held accountable, folk. And so we're ready for you. And we would love to have you so that we can serve this need together. And I think that's fair to say, because a lot of people don't talk about assessing yourself before you get into something. And a lot of people don't talk about accountability once they're there.
Yeah. And I think that accountability comes with understanding that it's bigger than us. I always talk to my team about the mission is bigger than you. So if you come on board, just come with that understanding.
Absolutely. So I want to thank panelists Ashley and Kheila. You guys have been really insightful this evening. And I want to take some time to just maybe address some questions about the grants committee and about the work that we do and about the different layers of membership, because you don't have to spend $1 million or $100. You don't even have to spend $50 to be a philanthropist. You can just give us your time, and we will, and that's very valuable to us. We really value that here. So there are 3 different types of membership. The first one is an investment of $0 to $49. Yes, $0 to $49. So that's a general membership. That really shows that we do value your time, and you can give that, and we'll turn it and spin it into gold. And then the second membership is the voting membership, and that's going to be over $50, anything over $50. So that shows you that you don't have to do much, but give 50 or plus dollars per year. Let me not say you don't have to do much, but the minimum is $50. We are asking for you, to put your time in and work in, and we want you to be in community with us. And then we have the board membership, which we have some wonderful board members on the line with us today. Ashley is a board member. We have Janae as well. So we have any more? No. So it's a real good opportunity to do the work. We are a working board, so we make a lot of decisions and basically just try to do our best to guide the organization and into a direction where it can be community centered and equity focused. So you can be any of those 3 types of membership. You can be 2 of them. And we will, we welcome you to the grants committee. I see we got some people dropping in information. Okay.
Yeah, we got experience over
here. Okay. So Ashley, if you want to contact collective365@info.gmail, that can give you more information. You can also check out our website, www.collective365.org. See, Ashley, I got it, Ashley. She mouthing along like I know she's gonna mess this up. I'm joking. And then just give you some more information about what the grants committee do. It's not all. So we promote the grant applications, which is a big thing. Last year, we had a substantial amount of applications, and we're expecting that to really double or more. We're expecting it to be high. So we really want to make sure that we're recruiting members, and the email address, recruiting members and making sure that we have the capacity to review all of the grants. Ashley, the email address is collective365info@gmail.com. So thank you for that as well. And there are some time commitments with it. Before the grant season, we ask about 0 to 5 hours per month. During the grant season, that's going to be about 10 to 15 hours per month. And the grant season begins in November, and the grant review concludes in May. So that's kind of an estimate of what we would expect from a grants committee member. So we want to again thank you all for attending this webinar. Our grants committee is a really wonderful opportunity to affect change in Black and Brown communities. So I want to encourage the members and prospective collective members to learn more about what we do. We want to be in community with you, whether it's time, money, or talent. You have a place at the collective. So for more information, you can visit our website. And I just want to say thank you for joining us this evening, and have a good evening.
Oh, we have
a question.
Oh, we have more? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What would volunteering in the community, Richmond, Virginia, look like during this weekend? During the weekend. For the most part, volunteering our time, we do it virtually. We've done a lot of this through Zoom. As Ashley said, we only operated during the pandemic, so we've done it virtually. And those hours, there are some hours that are required, like we're meeting together to discuss the grants process, but a lot of those hours are kind of on your own time when you can make time for it. So we're really flexible with volunteering.
Yeah, let me say to Charles that some of the volunteers, so if you have a capacity that you are giving to a person or an org. So in this case, Ashley does grant writing. So if Ashley wanted to volunteer their grant writing services, we would link them to an organization or to a person. And then from there, y'all would work out the schedule that works best for you to be able to volunteer with that organization in Richmond. If you want to serve as a member or a part of the grants committee, then that's what Lisa is also speaking to as well, is that those hours are during the week, but we do not meet during 9 to 5. So all of our meetings at the very earliest start at 6 p.m. so that we can try to accommodate as many work schedules as possible. So the volunteering that you would do in the community with organizations and people, you could work out that schedule with however the org needs you. We are in the business of connecting folks. You got a need. We got somebody who serves that need. We connect them and then they do their thing.
Yeah.
Hope that
I
helps.
love that. I appreciate you actually breaking that down. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate both.
Of course. Do we have any questions? I don't want to cut anybody off like I just did a couple minutes ago. It's okay. I'm giving myself grace. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, again, I want to thank you all for joining this, and thank you to the membership committee for putting the membership drive together. If you are a new member or you're a prospective member, we encourage you to learn more about the organization and the work that we do. If you are an existing member, remember that if you wanted to be entered into a raffle for this week, all you have to do is recruit new members. So we have some really good prizes. And again, thank you all and have a good evening.